there's really nothing that compares to it.
I've been at the highest of the high, lowest of the low. I've seen what being a world champ feels like. I've seen what not being able to win anything feels like. But now I'm back, feeling the best I've ever felt in my life. It's Paris now. We're in champs.
We last faced G2 in Shanghai. It's been a pretty long time since then. We've learned a lot, and I hope all of those learnings lead up to champs.
Going against Team Heretics, I feel pretty confident. I'm ready to play this tournament again because they know when I was a world champ, I was unstoppable, and I'm ready to be unstoppable again.
My dream ever since starting Valorant was to win champs, and I'm gonna do everything I can to make that goal a reality.
To win champs, obviously, it would mean everything to me.
EG are your Valorant World Champions!
I did it once, and doing it again would be even a greater achievement. I would say T1 are pretty strong. They have really good aim.
일단 저희가 어떻게 하는지 대회를 보였으면 다 아시겠지만 저희가 일단은 조금 재밌는 팀이고요. 그리고 이번 챔스를 위해서 준비를 엄청 많이 했어가지고
I always give my 110 effort to be the best I possibly can. All your time goes into it. You work on your craft. You make sure you're not making the same mistakes. And I literally sacrificed my whole entire soul to be here.
Their first international trophy!
우린 방콕에서 이미 우승으로 증명했었고 T1은 정상을 쫓는 팀이 아니라 정상에 있는 팀입니다.
T1 already have a title this year. It's time to see if they can kickstart their journey of winning the one that matters the most. But talk about return of the king. Demon One is on stage. I don't know about you guys, but I'm getting goosebumps seeing him playing again, just in general.
The aura that we talked about from the beginning, I'm so excited to see him play and exactly how he's going to be feeling for this side of Dragon Render Gaming. As we get to see the map too, this map of Lotus, they played so many times.
Yeah, I mean, the Sunset Dog, as you rightly said, this is something that we were definitely going to see today. But you got to say, looking at the rest of the maps, it ain't too bad for DRG.
Yeah, when I look at this pick ban phase, I'm inclined to think that they won that part of the game.
Why?
I think they won it in a pretty meaningful way. We talked about how successful, I mean, both these teams are at Sunset, but DRG are no slouches on it. I think DRG love to 1-4 on Lotus a lot. They leave previously Bukashu on an island and let him contact and make sure, at least on the attack side, there's nobody taking aggro space. And then they play around his timings and around his space style. I imagine they're going to do a bit of the same. And then Ascent is a really fun map too. I love the way they play it. Yeah, I look at this and I go, T1 might be in a little bit of trouble here.
Talking a little bit about that map of Lotus too, one thing that catches my attention is that not only do they play a lot of those 4-1s, but they play a lot of 5-minute hits where they have 2 sets of utility. If that first side hit doesn't work, they're going to have that second round of utility to make it work out, but it makes it a lot harder for the post plan, so that can be an opportunity for T1 to capitalize from that. I still feel like, yeah, there's a good chance for DRG here, especially if they get the map 1.
And you might look at Lotus and go, well, hang on, they're, you know, statistically, you know, throw the numbers, and you go, oh, it's only a 50% win rate. That's not very good. They're 4-4. 2 of those losses were to Billy. Yeah. And 2 of those losses came in the last, like, what week or so to the number 1 team that's coming in from that region. So, those are fake numbers.
But also, out of the 9 matches that they played in China, 8 times they played this map of Lotus. It's insane. Even if they were not winning it every single time, it just shows how much practice they have on this map.
This is the thing, you know, DRG, they know Sunset is coming. T1, they know Lotus are coming. If they don't take it away, it will get played today. It has been one of the few weak points for T1, but comps-wise on the other side, you're going to see Ackerman on Neon, but don't assume this is what he plays for the rest of the series, because if he wants to whip out a Clove or a Cypher, just because why not, he will. But how about Demon 1? Do we expect him to just 1-for-1 the Cypher?
I do. I genuinely do.
Yeah, because of the time that they had to be together, to prepare together, I think that makes the most sense. I just want to see if he's able to actually perform with this Cypher, kind of playing by himself the way that Bukashu used to do in China.
Yeah, I think it's the 2 things I was mentioning earlier, and you said it exceptionally well, Dan. They didn't have a ton of time to change things. And so you can't really revamp your entire structure over, what, a week, maybe 2 weeks, and then you consider travel, this, that, and the other. But so that's problem number 1. Number 2 is I do think it's probably the best way to slot him in. It's in my opinion, one of the easiest transitions. You go out there, we're putting you on an island. Either they're going to bully you or you're going to be a dog, right? That's kind of what it comes down to.
Especially considering he was talking about, you know, comms issues and having to warm up into that environment. You don't want to put him on an agent where he needs to give that much info. You want to just let him be.
Right, or timings. Timings becomes a headache if you haven't been drilling things. You don't really know what time your duelist like to go if you're the initiator, or if you're the duelist, you're waiting on your initiator utility to hit at the right time, and half a second changes an entire hit.
The cool thing about DRG is that they remind me, in the NEG, they remind me of Cloud9 in the way that they like to play fast. They like to get very aggressive.
No, I'm kidding.
I love Cloud9, so I think it's a great thing. But they like to play very fast. They like to get messy very early into these rounds. So for Demon 1, it feels like there's not a very complicated a game plan with multiple layers of things that they have to do that you see, for example, in a team like Fnatic, in a team like G2. So it's easy to fill him into this role, playing that Cypher or playing something else, but with a style that you know is going to be just messy for both sides.
I can't believe there's $1 million question that's more than what's Demon 1 going to play, because what on earth are T1 going to play? Do you want to see them do what they were sort of trying to shoehorn earlier, maybe with Chamber being a viable option again on the patch? They could throw that in. Well, what are you guys leaning towards?
I love Chamber, to be honest with you. I think in the right maps, Lotus being one of them, I think he can have a ton of value, especially on the defensive side. But having Buzz on the Yoru, I think Yoru's just too strong right now, to be honest with you, and I'd rather not change up any of those things, but we'll see what they decide to go with here.
Wow, we're looking on the other side. We're truly in a Waylay Yoru era here at Champs. Demon 1 is going to play Vice, and there's a breach!
So this is what I was talking about earlier with DRG. I think we can talk a lot about Bukashu, now Demon 1, but the truth is, I love their breach duelist utility.
Yeah, I do, but it's just,
I think they do a really good job at and me, I'm a hater of this combo, but I think they do it exceptionally well. I'm really surprised to see that they put Demon 1 on the Vice instead of the Cypher.
Yeah.
There's a lot more pressure on him, but I think it makes a lot of sense. If you're going into a double duelist comp, it's all about delay.
We've seen a lot of this Waylay play in Road, for example. We haven't seen it as much, to be honest, on this map of Lotus, especially because Ackerman was playing on this Neon instead with his double duelist with Spirit that is constantly on this Yoru. So I want to see also how that plays out alongside Demon 1 with the Vice.
Yeah, well, Demon 1 never played the Vice before, so here's a debut for him on this team back on the global stage. What are we waiting for? Mitch and Tom, send us into game.
Thank you, Yinsu. What a game we've got in front of us. A world champion returning to the international stage, to the champion stage, and trying something new. A man who was criticized as he can play chamber, but what else can he do? Well, today we get to see the Bison for DRG. It's not just a question of domination, it's a question of survival. This squad needs to outlive XLG, and continuing on in that upper bracket, one hell of a way to do it. But they're up against a team who we've seen reach the highest of heights this year. T1 with an international under their belt earlier on. They will not be looking to take their foot off the gas here at Champs.
Yeah, that's the thing. They had a huge rise at the beginning of the year. And like many a super team, had a pretty big fall off as well. Now it's whether or not there's a bounce back. Early contact already being taken by DRG. A solid start, hot flash of dreams from Spirit Z1. And while they're already falling back off of it, they love these aggressive starts. They love these front-forward plays. Well, Flexin hasn't fallen all the way back. That's going to give an opportunity. DH with a response. Meteor had a chance. But isn't going to be able to capitalize. And it's risky.
Yeah, Spirit Z1 took a risk. It almost paid off as well. DH down to 17 HP, but he gets that deep control towards spawn. It could allow a plant, but in fact, it's going to be a full rotation from T1, using their opponent's spawn to wrap around. But where's the target? One player towards the B site, taken down. DH leaves Stacks all alone. A 1 versus 5 for the Fade. And DRG not looking to split too much. We'll see them retake this together. And I love this composition. I think we saw it yesterday as well, just how powerful the Waylay alongside the Yoru can be. And for DRG, that's only going to enable them to double down on what we've already talked about in that aggressive playstyle.
Do you not believe in the Stacks clutch? Talking about comps. This man in a 1 versus 4. And you were right. Maybe you were right. Yeah, no, that was if he gets the first one, I'm a bit more of a believer, but that wasn't very clean.
Carry on, 1v3.
Nah. That first one, if he hits that instantly, I'm in. The second it was like 4 bullets, I'm out.
Well, a solid start coming out from DRG, from Demon 1 as well. He got the double, but a pistol's a pistol. Let's see when the rifles come out.
Like, this is the thing with this squad, is like, we've already seen it once with this Yoru combining with Waylay. It's so difficult to play against. It's so, you have to be so prepared with this exact composition. And well, I guess the good thing for T1 is they probably have played against it. I imagine they've at least scrimmed a little bit versus their Korean partners over in DRX, but I definitely didn't look prepared for that one. Starting things out on the attack side. Of course, this map, as a choice, it was mentioned by the desk, one that has been played a lot, but recently at least, DRG have had a couple of defeats. And that might be why we've seen the change.
For him, but he's stuck in the corner. T1 looking to pressure. Demon 1 strikes again before eventually falling. Damage from here on out for T1 possible. They look to retrieve the weapon. The Bulldog will be picked up. DH low on ammo, but good enough to take Spirit Z1 down. Akamando cleans up before this gets too spooky. With Flexin on the other side of the map, there will be a weapon lost.
Yeah, it's maybe a little bit more costly than they would have liked, but ultimately not the end of the world coming into things. And I think that's actually the sort of, that was always the interesting talking point coming into this match. What Demon 1 will be doing. Will he be taking up a more aggressive role? Will he be trying it out maybe on the smokes as he has done in the past? But I like the fact they've done the straight swap, because if you've ever watched this squad when they play regionally, Vukashu a lot of the time is on an island. So you have a guy that maybe can't communicate quite as well with the rest of the team. That's fine. He's going to be an anchor player, as you can see right now.
Full aggression from DRG as expected. It's a bloodbath to start with. Only the first falling from Ackerman, but Flexin follows. Nick trying to recover. Stands his ground, Nick! The triple! That's given them a real chance. But the players left only have pistols. Retrieving the weapon is deadly. And Demon 1. 1 versus 2. Buzz low. He's got a chance. A great start to the map already, but this would be something else. And they know exactly where he is. A ghost in hand and a full HP Meteor if he swung that door.
He's done that on purpose, though. He knew he'd be giving the game away. He heard the player taking the orb, and it was almost just bait that I'm going to break this, but then I'm going to retreat back and make you start to question where I've gone. And that's exactly what's happened. Buzz currently keeping an eye back towards mid.
Rifle.
Sneaks his way past, but Buzz is just tucked in on the corner. Meteor, normally a safe pair of hands, but the information hasn't yet been garnered on where Demon 1 is going. The problem is Buzz, in the meantime, is wrapping back around. So many angles to clear, would have to check his back, and he's going to. He's checked the right angle, puts it into a 1 versus 1 scenario, but the time has been ticking, and Meteor is just patiently waiting. The timing should work out for him as well. It's a nice attempt, but it's T1 now on the board.
Oh, one hell of a try. And there you're getting to see the caliber of Demon 1, a player who we've seen lift that trophy, and for good reason. But this time around, it's too much to ask. Hell of a hold from Nick, though. They were losing players left, right, and center, and he just comes out, Prowler into a double headshot, and he'd already taken down Izu. And regardless of how this one could have been DRG's, it should have been T1's a bit more convincing, especially
100%.
with that start. And that is a costly round coming into the next. If they full invest, they're putting all their credits on the line, and there you go. It's full rifles.
Oh, it's going to be this early fight once again. Door already being open. Paranoia had to be used almost immediately. And with the
east side, deep control up towards heaven as Izu takes another flex and going through the doors out of the round. This was the chance for DRG to break that economy of T1, but T1, they're not letting anything slip. Fighting tooth and nail, every duel going their way till it's Nick and Demon 1. An ult online early for Demon 1. Nick not far away, but committing them, even committing the rifles into this round from this point forward seems like a mistake, and they have called for the save already. The objective now just to carry these weapons forward, give them a chance, and after what was a shaky round 3, this is a great course correction for T1's economy.
Yeah, I think you're always going to have to keep an eye on Meteor in matches like this. You're talking about an MVP player. Of course, the recent memory will put someone like Forsaken, of course, but Meteor is an incredibly tough player to play against. It's seeming, though, like Nick has woken up on the right side of the bed. Aim has been clean. He's made this one a bit more costly, but still going to be taken out by Stacks. And although it's a round that is a little bit more damaging after how it started for T1, they're not going to mind because they removed every single gun.
Yeah, this was really a make or break round for them on the T1 side, and they played like it. Great control from Meteor, and that's a gap that I don't expect to see DRG leave all too many more times. But with the 3 players committed towards that A site and your Vice set up on C, fortunately it is just a part of the game.
Yeah, a lot of the time you're going to set up aggressively on A and then go back through. Oh, that's a 145 headshot. You're going to go back through the double door, or the broken door, sorry, to make your way back into B. But if he does it quickly enough, he is already through. And that's a difficult thing that they'll definitely have to focus on.
It's also your broken door player was Akamon, who went in for that info with the refract and got shut down, so then you just lost that ability to go back entirely. It was a hiccup. All right then. Not sure what he saw. The Spidey sense is tingling. Good start for T1. They've taken down 1 player. They've left Demon 1 low. That ult from Vice not likely to be used, but where do they go from here? There's no stack to run into. That's the good thing. Regardless of where they go, they've got a relatively favorable fight.
Meteor might be in a little bit of trouble here, but he's not going to be the one going first. And while flexing is left revealed, blind, not quite stunned. Yeah, he's somehow managed to retreat, and that is going to pull a fairly hefty rotation back from the defensive side. The main thing I'm worrying about right now is that clock. 25 seconds to get onto this site, and he held the line at least a little bit longer. Aftershock trying to deny the plant. Another kill for Spirit Z1, but they are on their last leg, tagged up, and he's managed 1 more. It's the same position, though, for Demon 1. Another 1v2.
Now here's where you start. 60 HP, a Sheriff, but if he pops that ult, he's got a real chance. Low HP on Meteor already. Headshot onto Stacks could set him up for success, but Stacks gets ahead of the problem. 3-2 locked in for T1. But a surprising round as well in terms of how much DRG got done. They had 1 player towards the A site. He was up close, he was blinded, he was revealed, he was pushed back by the wall, and still, he makes it out of there, ends up drawing blood. That's damage that shouldn't really have been done. And from there, DRG do a great job to just keep trading out these picks. Again, it's not a round they're likely to win, but it's also not a round they're likely to make close with how it started. So, not a bad beginning to this map, but T1 in the lead.
Yeah, and DRG are now actually going to take a relatively early tactical pause. We haven't seen much of them in terms of the buy rounds. It was those first couple and then not able to get things going after the last two. This will be when they next get back onto the board, and with some fairly hefty ultimates available to play with, you can understand why. The other thing as well is we've talked a lot about this being a map that really likes to be played by one side in DRG 8 times over the last few months with that 50% record. But on the other side of things, although it hasn't been played much, at least a couple of the results I think are quite promising for the side of T1. A dominating victory versus Nongshim with a 10-2 attack side. And then a very close game where they lost in OT to Paperegg. So although you might look at this and go, okay, this is DRG's pick, this is, I'm sure they're coming in with a stand-in, but this is their best opportunity. I don't think that T1 are going to be too worried coming into this map. And especially with the start they've had, I'm getting a little bit worried that if we don't get a response soon from DRG, they might just run away with this.
It's always a fear, and one that could be realized as we get back into the game.
They swapped Demon 1's position.
Soon to go up, and indeed, after that pause, the change up, you look at the ults in play for Demon 1, it's a good stoppage. Having his ultimate to work with. But a deep play by Izu is going to get a lot of information. This space wide open, not being fought for. There's the solo site defender spotted, pressured as well, and Izu shuts Demon 1 down. The A site open for business. And DRG forced into the retake. At least they'll have that rolling thunder to work with, but Meteor is going to be a snake in the grass.
Yeah, this is a nasty position that they need to clear. Nobody coming in from behind. It would just be this firefight. First one goes his way, but the trade is there quick enough. Plenty of ultimates to play with either side, and in fact, T1 will be the first to throw. They're going to put in that ult to try and slow them down. Rolling Thunder on the other side. Convergence path was being set up, but not yet thrown in. Still held, at least for now, but they need to start finding these kills. Buzz with another. Izu one more. And while he might have used his ult, but he'll get one more or back towards it. Nick falls. And that was a very clean round from T1. Much cleaner than any we've seen so far.
Well, in almost every round, DRG have been fighting for that A main space, right? They've been pushing up deep.
Kind of understand the thought process on the other side as well for DRG that, okay, we've just taken a pause. Maybe they try and adapt. Oh, fast-paced play, though, from Ackerman. Nice setup to clear out Meteor. He has been a burden, but a quick execution. They know they've lost map control. T1 hit into C.
Oh, not a lot to say about this round for DRG. They've got their pistols, and they've been at least making it competitive in the start with that deep A play, but once the push comes to shove for T1, they are ruling this battlefield with the rifles in hand. No chance to even the playing field with Demon 1 falling so early, and well, this one done and dusted pretty much as it starts, 5-2. You talked about that snowball. We saw DRG call the timeout to try to stop it, but
it's got worse.
It has. It's looked more dominant since that moment.
Well, I guess the other side of things is it also gives Autumn some time to talk, and it seems like, well, at least the round prior against Guns, it was purely based off they managed to find exactly where Demon 1 was. He's been a one-side anchor. The second he was down, it was a very easy take. This round, you're up against pistols, but it's also just the sheer pace at which T1 are reacting. Confident calls coming out of Stacks. And when he's in flow state, it feels like the rest of the team go with him.
Flexen's fallen early towards that door. It's been a death sentence. The dash used to get back out of that A choke point, and T1 with the early fight towards A main. They're not intending to hit here. Noise made with the door open as Izu tries to distract, puts the decoy through, but the rest of the squad making their way into Demon 1's den. This time, the Vice wall towards B. And although Izu falls and Meteor, they still have this C hit to rely on. The Thorns are going to divide up the troops a little bit, buy some time, maybe buy a 1v1 for Demon 1, but he backs out as Spirit C1 goes through. The trade, at least, DRG holding on to the advantage.
Well, there's the Steel Garden. Weaponry removed, but it's how fast they can actually get in to deal with this. Immediately, Buzz is going to activate the overdrive. Not affected by that ultimate. Now they have the guns with a convergence path. They're going to trap each other in the corner. It needs to be an instant headshot. And well, it is, but not for the side of T1. Ultimates committed. but it's definitely worth it to stop that snowball. DRG back on the board after 5 in a row.
Yeah, they do a great job here of dealing with Izu towards A, but not overcommitting on the rotates. Obviously, Demon 1 holding down that position. It's why we've seen him in so many of these clutches. He's the last man alive because he's left on the other side of the map to hold his ground. And although he backed off, there was good reason for it. They knew that having that ult online later is worth far more than him standing his ground for a 1v1 and being traded out. And it ends up pretty much securing them alongside Akaman's committal. 5-3, but that's a round where they have ults to respond after side is taken. Now we'll get to see what happens when they don't, and when the Steel Garden's online for Meteor as well.
Again, early control. Buzz been taking this space at a perfect horn thrown through. It makes things so easy. Spiritsy once found 2 though. Oh, just running through. He manages to get a 3rd. A huge round from him individually. Well, the man we've mentioned, that Bangkok MVP, might just get to show us why.
He's got 2 players playing contact off that first. Flex it, takes him down, and if he didn't, it would have to be a lightning fast adjustment onto Nick. 5-4. What a response from DRG. What a response from Spirit Z1. These haunts from Stacks have been getting away with so much. It feels like they got extra HP. They're just not being broken. What a spray, though, and he steps through the smoke for a bit more. Buzz then trying to reclaim space, reclaim an advantage. With Spirit Z1 down, runs straight into Nick, and the round's done. 1 round between them. DRG, they've looked like they're seconds, rounds away from being left in the dust, and yet they're able to come back swinging every time.
Oh, that's going to be
That's our first.
It is our first. That gives us a little bit more time to talk. No, I think for sure. Like, I was definitely getting a little bit worried, but they still have that confidence. I don't think it ever left. Like, how aggressively they're willing to swing. I think Ackerman as well, being able to just put himself in such aggressive positions. But this was all about maybe just a little bit of a late smoke coming in from DH, because they were already fully swinging out on the angle. It drops, and that's just that little bit of extra space given to Spirit Z1, and he takes over the round. I also want to give credit to Nick as well, though. For someone playing a Breach, there's a few players that spring to mind. I think we got Rians coming up later on, who just has that ridiculous aim while playing, that more supportive agent. But it seems like anybody who's walked into this man's crosshair has had a tough day.
Yeah, without a doubt, so far he's been holding his ground. I think we've seen signs of life across the board. DRG, it needs to be built on from here, but you spoke about T1, one of their more recent games, right? Having that strong attack side, the 10-2, it's no longer in play. It's already going to be that closer half, but it's a good time to touch on for DRG. Where are your expectations at as far as their attack side when we swap? What foundation do they need to lay here to build something beautiful?
It's sort of a weird one, because if you go versus BLG, they seem to struggle on their attack, but in their victories, it's normally the attack side that dominates. So thinking back to a few games ago versus XLG, they had an 11-1 attack. I don't expect that again. But normally they have at least an even half or a victory. But that is the same for T1 in other matches. They can still pull it back on the defensive side. I think we're in quite a balanced ground. The only thing will obviously be is how that double duelist is played. And I think when you bring in a Waylay, I expect more on the attack, because you have that dive. I think especially when you know you're coming up against a Vice, having that Waylay, you can get over and through all of that utility and you don't take any damage. We've seen it from Buzz. He tries to like slide through it. You still take a hit.
Yeah.
With Waylay, you don't.
Yeah, and something that we've already touched on in one of the previous games that we had, where we saw this exact same comp, and I think it was most evident on Abyss, the fact that you have, or actually most evident on Bind in our previous series, where you have this element to adapt. The Jet, you dive in, you take that space, you're now in there. Same for Neon, you slide into the angle, you're in the angle. There's no getting out for free. But with Waylay, you have the choice to go in, get info, and get out immediately. You have the choice to go in, get info, and commit, or we've seen a bunch of times now, it's so disruptive when they dive through, throw the stun back, and then refract. It's like this stun just comes out of nowhere, unpunishable, and that player's dead to rights.
Especially with a Yoru, because that I think my favorite thing yesterday was when you then had the second layer of you've gone, okay, I think I finally dealt with Waylay, and you turn around and Yoru's just like, hello. Yeah. Like, I've been behind you the entire time. So I think that the combinations on attack get me that little bit more excited. I think right now it's about if DRG can get enough rounds on the defense, I will be confident that they can close this out, even if we end up like even.
Yeah. And I think looking at their defense as well, talking about the buff that this gives them in terms of that A main aggression, you think about bringing a Raze into this map. I think for most people, what will be the most conventional and historic A hold. When you're playing aggressive like that, you're throwing your nade down early, and now you have to hold that space and fight with it. Whereas, again, with the Waylay, you have this ability to play aggressive early if you want to. We've seen how the util dump works, but also the ability to get out of there after. And with it being Omen, who's typically aggroing alongside you, you have the ability to cancel any of those aggressive plays if they're overcommitting. For T1, that means it's difficult to crack the code of initial aggression, and even when you do, it's difficult to capitalize by finding picks. If the Raze is pushed up and you figure it out and you punish, you're a man or two advantage. Not the case here necessarily, with DRG having a deep tool belt to fall back on. I really like this composition. I think it's growing on me game by game.
Yeah, I think I was somewhat convinced when watching DRX yesterday. Well, we're right back into the action. Again, some early control, and this time, Flexen's been caught trying to push up. A lot of these openers have been going well. Now there is going to be this time the Sheer ready and waiting, and that will leave Buzz. I was going to say isolated, but luckily DH got ahead of it.
Yeah, 2 players in, enough of the angles covered. Door almost broken, Buzz in the corner. Akaman's got a decision ahead of him, and now the information is there. Spirit Z1, door is broken for him. He goes back to play with his teammate. 2 on that angle. Buzz needs to be patient, dodges the foe, doesn't dodge the flash, he eats it! And Akaman and Spirit feed him some bullets alongside. Stacks! He'll only get himself the double. Damn good hold, but it's Demon 1 back in there behind to take the 5-5 scoreline, neck and neck.
Yeah, it's been some real fight backs in a lot of these rounds. Like I'm thinking the last few that have been won by DRG, it's still T1 getting the opener. This early battle that, again, you have the attempted TP through, and it is just patiently watched for. Again, another great horn coming out from Stacks. But then again, it's a fight back. I think Izu ends up getting lost over on that backside. He gets caught out by Nick, who once more has a high impact round. And then they just get swarmed on, not having that control anymore. His position was so much more valuable than the fight that was taken. And while from a 5-2 lead, and things looking pretty bad for DRG, it's again.
Oh, man!
Flexen's cursed.
Flexen's been having a really tough time, but that kill I can't even fault him for. Buzz is in there! Spraying down Nick! The spray and slide, okay. We're right back to T1 with dominant rounds. They've given DRG a little bit of slack, but oh, hold on, Spirit C1, we've seen this before. Only the 1 damage onto Stacks, but it's not going to make it too easy for Demon 1. Look at the economy. Akaman could need a drop in the next round, and I think the thought will be to carry this weapon through rather than throw it away on a 1 versus 4. The other problem is there's lots of ultimates for T1, and having those online, if you could bait some out here, would be incredibly valuable. But again, it's just a risk reward that DRG and Demon 1 are facing.
I'll be honest with you, I don't think I ever want to see a team again where Stacks and Buzz aren't on the same squad. Because we had to deal with that for a little while, and the amount of just like sheer confidence that Buzz has running through things when his teammate's putting up utility. Like, there have been so many rounds where he has got an opener because a Haunt has caught someone over on DRG, they can't do anything about it, and Buzz has an easy kill. This one, not so much. He just had the read on where that player has been for a few rounds and gets him with the spam. But you could just see the level of confidence that Buzz is playing with right now, and well, it almost feels like a, I'm not losing this half, I'll win this one myself sort of vibe.
Oh, winning the half at 7-5. Certainly looked like it would be a more dominant scoreline, but even that is...
This is... He's seen an arm.
Yeah, I thought it was straight through the smoke. Seeing the arm there is just like, I really feel for Flexen. I don't have the stats on opening duels, but I don't think they're going to look pretty for him.
He was flexing so much his arm went through the smoke.
Yeah, that could be it. And hit with the Joker serum. 1 round left to play for. Deep play from Izu. But he's wrapping around on B. Spirit C1's going to be dropped in the B side, seen to be wide open. Across this wall together. Early on, though, Akaman thinking about getting aggressive, but pushed back by the Fade ultimate, standing on the edge of the smoke, thinking about coming through, and he does, just to refract as Demon 1 loses in the 1-to-1 trade. They might think C is wide open now. The adjustment being made by T1. They'll close in, and with DH, he's heard the TP. He's got the timing, and it's a free pick back to a 2v2.
That's such an important kill. The youngster from the T1 Academy who has started to light up the world just as many young players from Pacific have done. But now he sits alongside and he's given the info over. Buzz now knows that they are sat at the back, but it's whether or not they're expecting this Rolling Thunder to come through. It doesn't seem like he's going to pop the ult, but he's already been wrecked. It's left onto DH, and they know exactly where he is. Needs to try and deliver the clutch, and he has managed to put it back into the 1 versus 1. The swing coming out from Nick, who's been so good, but playing with his food, just trying to bait him into these fights, and DH will take it! Handing them the L with the Red Bull clutch.
A masterful play in that 1v2. After the initial pick is taken, he is just running the clock down. Well played from DH. And T1 will lead by 2 as we go into the halftime break.
Less capital does not mean less buying. With MTF on Dhan, you can buy stocks with up to 4x margin. Welcome back as we get into our Coinbase Econ report. I'm excited to see who's going to be highlighted. This was a scrappy first half, Tom.
Yeah, for sure. We're going to be looking at Nick, and I honestly don't mind it. The guy has definitely been causing some serious issues, and it seems like he's been causing them for Izu, who's an absolute nightmare. And a lot of that is him being left alone on those lurks. And I think it's been so important for Nick to be able to sort of pick off that one player so that in their retakes they're not getting backstabbed.
Apparently he's bought 1 Vandal and 3 shorties, fair enough. And dropped over a lot, I suppose. As DRG trail by 2 when we get back into the game. This is going to be an important pistol round, I think. We've already said we expect a good attack side, and it to be only, or even better than what we've seen before. Now that they're bringing in this Waylay alongside the Yoru. How they use it, well, that's very much up to them. One thing I'm looking forward to is Flexen having a bit less pressure towards A main.
Yeah.
He was being picked off so often through smokes, getting hit by those stack reveals as well.
He's set up right outside A main.
It's making me worried. Getting nervous.
Although saying that, on the other side of things, it's only Izu who's going to go peeking, and that didn't, I'll be honest with you, it didn't seem like the play. It was just, I assume he had a way out of there, or was hoping to. Demon 1. Alive and well, it seems, but he will be dealt with by DH. The problem, for T1 at least, is that that A site has fallen.
Yeah, we're talking about double the numbers now. For DRG, they've got the man advantage and then some. They've got the plant, they've got time ticking away on their side. Meteor, if he came through that smoke, 2 players holding him. Has to cover his bases and clear out the rest. DH with his paranoia is good. It's going to catch a player up close. What a shot! Akaman dropped, but time. He's bought a little bit of it with that stun. And now the spike is really starting to tick fast. They need to make a move. Meteor and DH. It's Meteor through the door to be shut down. The trade was possible and it won't be needed with Nick. landing that shot to close out the pistol. 6-7, DRG just one behind.
Yeah, I like the fact that Nick in that scenario doesn't give anything away. Like, safe pair of hands. He just sits behind the box, lets his two teammates go and challenge towards the revolving door, and just basically sits in the corner, so nobody expects him to be there at the end. Solid round coming out for DRG, and an important one at that. As said, I think there's a good opportunity for them building into this. And one thing I want to sort of point out for T1 is obviously in a lot of these cases you're going to have Demon 1 on those lurks. I wonder if that's someone they try and target.
Well, has to be said, Demon 1 having a hell of a game. It's been 5 months almost since we saw him play. And that's only at the regional stage over in North Americas. And look at him now, last second substitute coming through, and he's delivering on a role that we've never seen him play an official on. But Flexen's gone down in A-main. The story of the game, this time to a classic on range. Right there. That's a tough loss early on, but they will punish it pretty heavily.
It's a loss they're used to dealing with.
Yeah, but on the defense, it's a different story attacking without this.
You know, they're playing at range. They don't mind if someone peeks them while they've got the rifles out.
Paranoia is
I would
overrated.
say it's not, yeah, it probably won't affect. There you go, it's all fine. They didn't need him anyway. Hopefully in the next 2 rounds it won't keep happening, but in this case, it's not too bad. For Meteor, any damage would be nice, but it's not going to happen. A very clean round other than flexing, and they'll be able to come back in with a pretty solid bonus in the next round.
Man, when he goes to sleep tonight, he's just going to see A-main on Lotus every time.
That's so absurd. That's a wall-bang classic headshot that killed him there. That probably did about 5 damage.
Yeah, that one's going to sting for sure. But
I think all of them.
Oh, yeah. I think it's compounding. It's like a toxin.
My life on Lotus flashed before my eyes.
It's a short life, at least, from what we've seen.
Yeah,
7-7.
11 times.
DRG tying it up. Decent round in the previous. Good economy. Isu playing aggressive. He'll grab himself the first. Sticks around after the flash. He sticks around a bit too long. The punish is there. T1 start to shift towards this side of the map.
He seems to be allergic to his gate crash. Like most of the time, you're going to see Yoru go out, get a kill, and escape. Especially when your teammate has fallen back. He wants to stick around too much, and in cases where your opponents have weaknesses in their buy, you can't afford to be doing that. Like, these risks are just not worth it. He's 10 and 13 at the moment. If he was lighting up the server, I could understand, but that now gives an upgrade over to the other side. 4 rifles now in play. And well, they've even lost some of their utility on the B side, that they have to be a lot more careful.
That's a very important piece of utility. Questions in the back of the minds of DRG. There's the gate crash taken for Spirit Z1. In the smoke early, got ahead of Stacks, but doesn't catch Meteor coming out. It's down to a 2v2 with Nick's trade. The spike still needs to be planted, but they've got 30 seconds to do so. I believe it's down below, so it's the savior of this round for T1. It's close.
They're going to feel a little bit hard done by that they don't manage to take that round home. Nonetheless, you'll see in a moment what damage has already been done to the T1 economy, and on the other side of things, Nick coming in with a rolling thunder. This could be an immediate response from DRG.
Cover going out. Now, we talked about how direct they like to play on the defensive side. Well, you got a rolling thunder online. Rifle's just about bought up. This is your time to play that aggressive role. Love that bait. That's beautiful. The refract from Ackerman. We talked about the ability to just get out of those deeper angles. This time the dash not used. Instead, gets rid of that paranoia, burns up Util, and confirms that there was a heavier stack on that side of the map. But after T1 re-cleared the space, they're on the rotate, moving towards this A site where Meteor was left to solo hold, where they were giving up control towards the tree, but now they'll be 3-man stacked up. But they're not here ahead of the push, and Izu goes down alongside Stacks. Ackerman was third. And T1, they had to rotate. They were here a little bit late, but now they're out of the round. This might have to be a save.
I was thinking a lot of what we saw in the defensive half was Ackerman being a one and done. Like, he'd fly in, get a kill, die, and that would be it. Not this round. He's now put himself up right near the top of the board, but there's a lot of contention for that on the DRG side. So many top-level performers for this squad. And I said the danger for T1. The only player surviving in the last round was Buzz. They have no choice but to save. And even if they do save, a full buy in the next round, very unlikely.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the credits there on the players who've lost their life in that early fight towards A. It's not looking pretty. They'll have to piece this together. This could be DRG taking the lead, stealing it out from under T1. What an incredibly competitive game we've had so far for DRG. Coming in as an Ascension team, the stakes couldn't be higher. As we said, it's not just about lifting a trophy, about making a deep run, making a name for your org, winning your first map for DRG on the international stage, but most importantly, it's about defending your spot in VCT, about not having to go to Ascension, sending XLG, who are already...
Even helps them win a match.
Yeah.
He's going to go down in history in DRG for one of the people that helped keep them in the league. Like, it's so important because, as we've seen many a time, nothing is guaranteed at Ascension. You could be the best team for the entire year, but you have a bad couple of days, and that is already over. It is always a brutal format. And with the pressure of being one of those teams dropping down, you're expected to be better than the teams in the Tier 2, and that is not always the case. I think G2 have proven that in Americas for quite a while now.
Oh, this is it. The T1 on the other side, you think back to Bangkok. You saw them lift the trophy.
Yeah.
And definitely, in terms of opening up this group, in terms of opening up champs, you don't want to see them go down early if you're a T1 fan, but especially to a team from Ascension, especially to a team who've made a last-minute substitute of bringing in one of the best chamber players
and lost one of their best players.
Lost one of their best and put in a man who's never played Vice before. But with Ackerman opening up this round, one of the rifles, DH is down. And is it retrievable? It might be stuck on top of the box. That's disastrous if so, leaving Buzz as the only man holding a big gun. They're on the rotate to the C site. Izu and DH already lost. And a lot of the stopping power that you'll see in a buy round doesn't exist here. Okay, the rifle did fall. Thank you, Jack. Not Jack, I'm so used to EMEA.
Just give him credit. Why not?
Yeah, thanks, Jack.
Oh, it's a bold play from Buzz. At this point, you can understand wanting to try and put the world on his back, but chance for Meteor. Always one of the best with the pistols, but this is definitely a tough ask, and he's the last man standing. Flexing, there he is. Able to get himself a couple. DRG, after what was an incredibly slow start to this game, 5-2 down, now find themselves in the lead on that attack side. And I'll be honest with you, I'm yet to really see much on this defensive side that makes me think the T1 are going to be able to turn this around. It's been fairly comfortable for DRG in the second half.
Yeah. Correct myself. Shout out to Ty, our third-person observer, for this matchup here.
Oh,
always does a great job.
They've headbutted each other.
He's already come in, smacked the player straight in the head, but not with the rifle. Izu down, but DH is delivering. He's found himself a triple before eventually falling. Stax was there, but Demon One deals with him. A shaky start for T1. DH put them right back on winning track, but now it's Meteor, a man who's received his MVP, his acknowledgement on the international scene. Well, he has to take down one of the best at a time.
No, that TP was so risky.
Giving it away. Demon One against Meteor for the round, for the 10th round for DRG. A nail in the coffin if they lose this for T1. And time being bought, Demon One can reposition, but now Meteor is going to do the same, and there's no escape. Demon One caught by the ultimate, down to the Sheriff, but he's got the positional advantage. Meteor out of the round. T1 down by 2.
Spirit T1 gave me an absolute heart attack there. Clears so many different positions around the A site, but then gambles on his gate crash, and that gamble was definitely not worth it. Almost handed the round over. DH at the beginning, it feels like a lifetime ago, the amount of work that he was able to do. And yeah, just a silly mistake, but luckily, Demon 1, top of the server right now, has been a safe pair of hands. Definitely seeming like the stand-in.
In hand, he's good for one. Done well. Stacks at least finding another, but it's not enough in a round like this. The man left, DH, Stinger in hand. A flank that they don't expect. Remember, they held onto that space towards A-Long for a long time. I don't think they heard that weapon be picked up. He's dodged the flash. This timing could be perfect, but Demon 1's there to greet him. And even if he wasn't, Spirit Z1 should have cleaned up. 11 on the board. DRG, the underdog coming into this in most people's minds. Looking at T1's performance, looking at the substitute they've had to make, looking at the role for Demon 1. They're close to taking this now.
This is the thing, I almost wonder, and it might sound ridiculous, but like Demon 1 going into Gukashu's role, basically, it's much more simple in the aspect of like, we need you to hold this side of the map while we directly hit somewhere. You don't need to focus on setting up utility or like when, for example, when he plays smokes, like putting smokes into position. There's no real reason for him to be caught without his gun, and you put this guy just to frag. Well, he's 18-9. He is the top fragger in the whole server right now. It's looking very, very good. I'm sure there's some doubters or hate watchers sat there at home like, no, he's meant to be bad. Well, he's playing in a one trick. He's playing in the Chinese #2 team. He can't be the top fragger in the server. So unsuccessful hate watch so far, I'm sure, for many. But for Demon 1, it's got to be an absolute field day, a return to form. And T1, well, they've hit the panic button. You're 11-8 down. You're up against a team with a stand-in. I also just want to add the context of the rest of the group. The other two teams are G2 and Heretics. Obviously, Heretics went on a crazy run last year. Had a bit of a rough patch as of recent. And G2, I don't think they broke a sweat at all in winning Americas. In fact, they subbed in Baby Bay and made him look good.
I'd say he made himself look good, Tom. He's a good player.
Out of the server or in the server?
A little bit of both.
Okay. Out of the server, I agree. No, I'm kidding.
You're joking. I'll let him know. I'll let him know what you said. Well, 11-8, and this could very well be the end of T1 if they lose this round, at least in this map. Their pick Sunset up next, so it's not all dire signs. It is definitely a time to be worried if you're from Pacific. Full clearance of this site with that command, but a big shutdown. T1 playing outside of it, setting the trap and springing it just on time. Nick with a double makes this look a bit more doable. The op of Izu on the way, but still miles away. Buzz injects himself onto the site. A chance for him to be isolated, but now the rotates are here. Now the ult's in play. Buzz's swing is perfect. Izu's clearing everything, and they will find this round a much-needed win for T1.
Yeah, I am surprised, though, with that advantage that we see both the Nightfall and the Dimensional Drift go through. Like, they were clearly very worried that that round could turn on its head, and honestly, with how some of them have gone, I can kind of understand why. Solid openers from DH and Meteor, and I'll be honest, it's another scenario again where I remember seeing Charon added into Gen G and going, oh, that's someone I don't know very much about. There's this young sort of like ranked player who has been thrown in from the T1 Academy. He has been their best player, and I think maybe you can make an argument for Buzz. I don't think you can make an argument for anyone else.
Oh, Ackerman, he's taking the space yet again. He could fall back, but he doesn't need to. Spirit C1's alongside him. Full control of B site, but it looks like T1 want to fight for it. A delay towards Hobbit. They'll have to wait a moment now with that stun landing, and that's going to get the plant out for DRG. Man advantage for the attackers, but that fades quickly. Nice shot by Izu. Here comes DH and Meteor. The full wrath of T1 unleashed, and no one standing but Nick. Three more. He's already got two, but that off is holding tight on the angle. Another round for T1. Just one away now. This is a hell of an opening map.
Yeah, it looks like they've moved much more towards a retake setup. Like, a lot of those early fights have not been working for them. The risky plays early in the round haven't been paying off. So instead, okay, they lose a man, but then it's just about boxing the players in, not allowing them to have these fast flanks, and then fighting as a team. And if you think back to like the old school Vision Strikers DRX that was run by Stack, they were the best in the world at retaking. They were the best at having a setup, having utility put into play, sending in Buzz or sending in Izu, in this case, and it works out for them. So I'm glad that that's the adaptation they've made. Now DRG aren't just going to sit there and let this game slip away. They're going to pause themselves.
Well, I think this is it. You know, at the start from DRG, you have this very oppressive opening duel ability. You fire in your utility, you take that space, and the idea is a lot of the time you're going to be able to punish somebody who's out of position. This is what we saw from this comp up against Team Liquid as well. But once that team starts to play in a way that they're not getting caught by it, they're letting you have the space and fighting for it afterwards. Like you said, that's what T1 are doing here. You need to find that second layer. The thing is, with this composition, you have so many tools on your belt to play with. It's not a...
And ults are building.
There, absolutely. You've got that as well to fall back on, those safety nets that we often talk about, but it's not a composition that only works with one approach. That's why I think it's so valuable. 20 seconds left before the round starts. That off of Izu seems to be putting up a lot of value when it comes to these retakes, because for DRG, taking the space, not having a fight, they have to choose where they battle. And a lot of the time, when they go to swing into that angle to take that little bit of extra control, Izu's waiting there with the op in hand.
Time to jump.
Well, the other thing on the brink for the attack side here is going to be that economy. T1 take this round and they might even be able to extend into the lead off of it. Again, you see these passive angles being held. The operator brought in for Izu once more just to passively hold A. An already massive group up from the defense on this B site. And elsewhere, just got DH. Jiggle peeking, but has now been smoked off.
Much more defaulty from DRG. Ackerman looking for the fight, spots one and gets out immediately.
I'll handle this.
But eventually they will group up. They had Demon Worm waiting outside of A, but the C site, this is where the hit's coming through. Stun, it's perfect. The TP used, but it doesn't get DH to safety. Spirit C1 still able to pick him up. And now they've got control over C, but it's being fought for. Meteor stepped through the smoke. In comes Buzz. The stun landed, but Ackerman gets ahead of it. Flexing from up top. And DRG in a 5v1 all of a sudden. A lot of talk about Izu's operator. How it started to put him on the board. Put him in the kill feed on the right side of it too, but he'll hope that he's not appearing in that kill feed at all in this round. A save is called, and DRG, as a result, on 12 with 2 chances to close out their map pick here. For a team that came in with a substitute and a man who hasn't played Vice before and an official, they are looking sublime.
Yeah, I think also just this round was a much more deep commitment for T1. What we saw in their last C-site hold was they were both sat back, waiting, one holding onto the cross to try and fight anybody as they dived in. I think DH gets caught there. Like, they use the Dimensional Drift, spot him, hit him with the stun, and there's no real way out. Izu, he's surely dead. No way he comes out of that one alive, but at least manages the one. And this leaves them in quite a bit of trouble. I think both pauses are already gone, but more importantly, they are going into what could be the last round of the map with, well, I'd say a stinky buy.
Yeah, it depends where they settle on their investment, but I think no matter what, there will be big weaknesses for T1. And yeah, you know, you got rid of the Rolling Thunder. Dimensional Drift from Spirit Z1, fantastic. DRG don't have as much of a punch to pack in this round in terms of those safety nets, but let's see what T1 can do with this mixed bag. Izu's got one. Buzz on the Bucky finds another in this round. Off to a flying start for T1. We thought they'd look weaker, but somehow it's like the cleanest start they've had.
Yeah, it started so weird. Ackerman flying over most of his enemies and then getting caught out, surprised by Izu. A pretty hefty upgrade as well for Barzamon. Near keeps it as optimistic. With the spike down, the 1v5. I think you'd need the Devil himself to show up to be able to eliminate the rest of these players. I don't think it's going to be happening. And even just damage here might help them out a bit. Instead, though, it's a flawless round. Buzz there to close it, and when T1 looked like they were dead and buried, they find a round.
Even in the end of the round, another delivery from Stax's reveal. The Hans have been huge, and at the start, plays a similar role. Giving them that info, target selection for Buzz was easy as a result. And as you said, fact that Izu's able to get away with that is ridiculous. Great fight, and as well, this is the round that should have seen T1 fade into obscurity. Now, they fight on an even playing field against DRG for the final round of regulation. Overtime possible. For DRG, they're competing for their organization's first win on the international stage. Losing this, it'll be much harder.
Oh, already a solid start. Buzz has been dealt with. Stax and Meteor, though, fight back in turn. Stax wanting to get back in there, but he's got to be careful. Low HP. Demon 1 being revealed. Only has the shorty to play with, but now he gets his own. Looks to take it back. Izu, though, has fought in form. They have matched each other man for man. Even still, though.
Demon 1 at Spike.
Yeah, look at the position of the Spike, getting it back. Is he going to be able to block this? No, it takes more than one to do so, so that's at least the Spike back into their hands. I am looking, however, at DH. He's making that read early that this team might just try a move for the A site.
Thing is, though, they're in this 3v2, playing the retake could have a lot of value. For DH, he has to be very selective about where and when he fights.
30
already
seconds left.
Drop down towards the A site. DRG, they might go to C, though. Making their mind up as we speak. They know they've already taken out the Vice on the other side with Meteor's utility gone, but it will be the A side that's the ultimate target. A sneaky play here from DH, but it all comes down to timing. Nick is walking up on him, but they've decided to leave him 10 seconds. The plan has to be secured. DH, if he can just drop this spike, it could all be over here, and it's a little late. The spike gets planted, but Nick is left alone. If he doesn't find this pick, they will overwhelm him with numbers, and DH slips away to the tree. Nick against the world. He's had so many big plays. The decoy reveals him. And a double! He collapsed it, but in the end, it's DH taking this across the line, bringing T1 into an overtime, giving them a chance to deny DRG on a map where they've looked beautiful.
What an absolute mad round.
Well, overtime for DRG. They had the lead, they had the chance to close it, but now T1 could be right back to winning ways. On the attack side, guard T1, but look at this stack up from DRG. There's 4 players here. Previously, we've seen them fight tooth and nail for A, and T1 have been keen to take that space when it's given, but now it's a trap that's sprung, flex him through the door, grabs one before falling. The numbers even. But it's Nick with the pressure on his shoulders again. This time he delivers, but the slide in from Buzz, punished for the 2 versus 1. DH reads that that's the decoy. He might have to jump on Spirit C1, a 3rd kill. And the TP taken to the other side of the map. A plant and a 1v1. How many clutches has Demon 1 be in? But this one, the most important of all.
TP up top. They open the door. So Demon 1 has tried to bait the idea that he is coming from this position, but I feel like it's going to take him so long to go all the way back around. And once that smoke fades, DH will have the idea that this man is no longer in position. In fact, it's such an obscure angle. I don't even know if Demon 1 will expect this at all. And the problem is now that clock is starting to tick, the doubt starting to be in his mind. DH has played it to perfection again. Where have they found this man? A Red Bull clutch to give T1 a shot at map victory.
And don't get me wrong, DH has been playing the game all throughout regulation, but these last 2 rounds, he has hit another level entirely. What a play in the 1v2. Catches both players completely off guard. And a 4K to deliver T1 the lead. 1 round left. They were trailing 12-10 with weak weapons, a Bucky in play, a mixed bag across the board, and they came back in with a dominant win. But DH for 2, giving them the lead, and with a timeout for DRG, the team that looked set to close out this map to set history for the org. Well, now they've got to climb back into the game.
It is funny to think that while we talk about Demon 1 not really playing for the last few months, when he was last playing, it was at least in the Tier 1 over in Americas. For DH, this is a guy who is playing in the Tier 2, and this is his first map on an international stage. I don't know if they're building these like young players in a lab. Like Caron felt like it was just cheating to have someone that good. DH now feels exactly the same, but 27 and 16. He is dragging players like Meteor, Buzz, Stacks, Izu, people who've been there, done that, got the t-shirt, to potentially the first map, but boy, he might just have to do it again. Buzz, within the first seconds of the round, is dead.
Ackerman's been so impressive in those opening duels, dashing in. We've seen him do it not that many rounds ago when DRG were on the attack.
Cover going out.
But with that, it looks like they'll still commit to this A site. Demon 1 holding the flank. This could be a mistake. There's so many players here. Stacks traded out. DH gonna burn the paranoia just to deny the space. Slow them down.
Well, look at the rotation. Everybody's already here.
Do they call for the rotate back? It looks like they will, but the Ops now in position. Holding that cross. Flexen's got him. Finding strength in the scars he's been dealt on A main. But they'll still move towards this site. And the numbers are still here for T1. At least they were.
Yeah. Well, maybe the only one that really matters is still here. He would basically win them overtime if he can somehow hold on to this. 35 seconds and decisions are there to be made. Meteor has left his team. I'm surprised they're splitting up. I'm surprised that's the decision. And while this time DH can't save them, Ackerman will put him in the dirt, and Meteor so far away. I'm not sure I agree with that. I think the best case they had was to try and fight it as 2. Now he has to find a 1v4.
There's chances. Now that he's being spotted, looking pretty bad. There goes the ultimate on him. Ooh. Okay, Ackerman will fall, but the spam's through the wall. Even us up to 13-13. Another overtime needed. And for DRG, those opening picks on the attack from Ackerman there.
Gross.
They are everything for this squad.
Well, this is like when I go back to the critique I had of Izu in the defensive half. That's what I'm expecting to see. Like, you get in, get a kill, get out. He has no interest of like trying to double down, try and be a hero of the round. He's just get the opener and escape. And that's where I think Ackerman has truly been a force to be reckoned with. Now into that defensive round once again, and it's the same brawl over on A.
There. Yeah, T1 though, they sit behind Rubble patiently. Still those 4 players towards this site. T1 making a quick read again. They're giving up that space. What happened last time? It was a trap play with a lot of players in position. Expecting the same here. And although Izu stuck around, he has that gate crash used early this time. Won't make the mistake he did in regulation of giving them the picks. Now Thorns slow this push down. Give a chance for the rotations. Demon 1 won't fall for that spot again. But now they're closing in the distance. Well played to find the first. Spirit C1 from the back lines, delivering again. And a 3 versus 2. The defensive round looking likely, but with Ackerman down, we're back to a 2v2, and T1 have got a plant.
Putting themselves in a position to turn this round on its head, have another chance at claiming the victory on their opponent's choice, but Flexen and Nick have an opportunity. The flash is going to slow them down even more. The Aftershock not quite finding anything, but even still, it has cleared an angle, it has checked the spot, but that time is ticking. They need to get a move on. First contact in, Izu gets one, and it is close. But Meteor will make sure that they're the ones that get another chance at victory.
Another match point for DRG. Last time it was a timeout called here. They sought to correct course. And actually, I'm seeing in-game, it's going to be a timeout again, Tom, but it's T1 this time, taking the breather. Interesting call as they're in the lead, but they did let it slip a couple of times, so well, why not?
I think also just, this is where you need a cheese round. This is where you need one thing to work for your squad, and then you close out the map. This is the perfect time for the coach to come in, because realistically, if you're a round down, you take a pause, you're basically looking to fix something while you're switching into another half. Like, the round you've just lost, it would be irrelevant because you're not playing that side of the map anymore. Now, you're coming in, and it has only been those attack side rounds that have been working for either side. This is what they needed to fix. One defensive round, and this game is over, and the coach earns his money.
One of the big strengths for T1, thinking back on towards the end of regulation, at 12-10 down, they go for this all-out play of aggression towards A main, something that I think we're used to seeing from DRG on the defensive side. We're used to seeing from most teams, but it was getting Buzz into this deep spot, swinging open door, and having just this all-out brawl.
The focal point of that was Stacks. He might be bottom of the board, but the amount of supportive assists that he has had.
His haunts are unreal.
Yeah, they have been, dare I say, some of the best I've ever seen. Like, it catches someone every single round. In fact, it catches multiple people most rounds. Looking like it might be slightly different, though. You've got Izu set up outside of B. He's got that operator in hand, and they will take that control. But the second they take it, Stacks is immediately back to go and support the other side of the map.
Yeah, I mean, the honk goes up and no utility as a response. Nobody's seen. It's now time to reinforce this C site. But it might be too late by the time he gets there. They're already teeing up for the push. DRG straight in, Meteor under pressure. He's surrounded. Stacks comes in to help and finds the first. Finds another! Stacks keeps delivering! And he might have delivered them the win! Nick, on a sliver of health, has to stand off against the off. And even then, even the classic can take him down. 15 to 13, T1 climb back from what looked like defeat and claim map 1, DRG's pick.
Yeah, what an incredible start to this series. One that feels like it could go all the difference to 3, but we will have to wait and see. We'll be back with Sunset after the break.
Now that I'm a mom, things are different. Verizon's different too. They let everyone in my family choose different plans. We get what we want and we save money. Love that for me.
An update is required. Financial system updating. System updated.
We will dance to get.
The future of money is here. Feels good.
Esports World Cup, where we are starting off with VALORANT.
If you want to win, you have to win against the best.
So looking for revenge.
Maybe that's
Alpha behind one. There's the shorty. And Alpha goes crazy.
They've all battled through the pressure and expectation.
Heretics have come back all the way!
Finally, we won. Finally.
Hey guys, Mika and Bella here with Autumn of T1. And now Autumn, this is DH's first international and he is popping off. We know back in Pacific that T1 has been preparing him for this very moment with events like T1 Homeground. But talk to us how the team, the Masters Bangkok champions, of course, have been preparing him for this very moment here on the champion stage.
오늘 경기가 DH 선수의 첫 국제전 데뷔이자 챔스 첫 경기였는데 오늘 너무 멋진 경기력을 보여주고 있습니다. 이제 마스터즈 방콕 우승자인 T1 선수들이 팀으로서 어떤 이야기를 해줬길래 이렇게 잘할 수 있었나요?
사실 팀원들이 그 친구한테 뭐라 해줄 필요가 없이 워낙 큰 무대에서 자신감 있게 할 수 있는 거를 증명했기 때문에 콜업이 된 선수여서 팀원들이 이제 하는 거는 그냥 하던 대로만 해라, 자신감 있게 해라 정도로만 하고 너무 잘하더라고요, 알아서.
Well, the team didn't really have anything to tell him because DH was called up. He joined our roster because he was able to perform well, be confident on big stages like this. He was born ready. And I guess the team just said, hey, just keep doing what you've been doing because, you know, we all saw how good DH was and he really proved himself today.
Well, he better keep doing what he's doing. He is a natural. Good luck on the next map. 감사합니다.
Like I said before, when has a Korean rookie ever failed us? What a debut for DH here on the global stage. I've got Dan and Doug here with me. Once again, these numbers, Doug, this is ridiculous. And if he keeps doing these, you know, he's going to have a nice time in Paris.
Yeah, I think he's going to do quite fine. The stats are fine, and they're good, and he put up really good numbers. But what impressed me most about this kid was how often he was in clutch 1v1 situations, and he was the one winning them out. And he was winning them out against the likes of, it felt like Demon 1 every time. He was constantly in those positions, but that boy stood his ground. He was incredible for T1.
I mean, pretty much the reason why they won this map too in that overtime, when he gets 4 kills as well to secure it, they go into that second one and finally they're able to close it out with stacks. DH has been incredible. He was good towards the beginning and he was good as well to keep T1 alive in this map.
Yeah, cool, calm, and collected too from him. And it's time for our Verizon high-speed moment. And this one goes to what happened on round 8. What a fantastic retake from them. We saw so many of these as well. This wasn't an isolated incident.
No, I think there were really, really good protocols when it came to the retake situation for DRG, and I think this map does this clip does a really good job of doing it. I talked about it yesterday, I believe, not a huge fan of the Waylay, but I love the way they use the Waylay ult there in order to take space, and then they swung behind it. I think so oftentimes that can be an issue. You can drop the ult, but do you have enough space? Do you boldly and do you confidently swing out to take those fights? And that's not always how it plays out. So I love the way they play that.
Especially because when you see T1 on the attack, they're very overwhelming. They'd like to take a lot of space. And if that doesn't work towards A side, as we saw multiple times in a row, they pivot very quickly towards B. So this time around, you see how it was a forced retake in a few of those rounds, but it was working out so well for the side of DRG.
Okay, so one of the things I love about international events is seeing the meta change. And this is a wild example of that. Again, not a huge Waylay fan at the beginning, but you've seen a lot of these teams double down on this Waylay flash setup. And you're seeing some of these to perfection on how they love to do it. And so the plan for DRG was either with the Neon or with the Yoru, or with the Breach. This is a great example. You had the Yoru flash, you had the Breach flash, Ackman takes that space, pops up onto half wall, and is able to isolate those fights and then gets out. And so as we see the meta develop in this tournament, I think we're going to see a lot more of that. What can you do to get Waylay in a really good spot to take a fight with flash, with setups, this, that, and the other, and then get the heck out of dodge? When you have a numbers advantage like that early in a round, you're set up so well to succeed.
You also see it on attack and some of the things that they were doing, trying to get that space early on towards Mount. And even if he doesn't capitalize with one of those kills, you still see how it forces a lot of that utility from the defense out to work out so well.
Yeah, I think that was the other thing I wanted to touch on. So even if it isn't necessarily a set, but to get a kill with a Breach flash, a Yoru flash, this, that, and the other, we saw so many times Omen flashes burned because they heard somebody out there, and then TP away. All of a sudden, you've got 4 or 5 rotating back to A when you thought there was more presence. C, the TP for Waylay, and then setting Waylay up to take those fights has been a ton of fun to watch.
My concern is DRG, they did let that slip. You know, when they were 11, 7, 11, 8 up, they should have closed that out. And also, they only won 9 gun rounds. 9! Which is absolutely outrageous given that it went to OT. So I can't wait to see what Nathan D had to say about what happened ahead of map 2.
Guys, Tamika and Vera here with Nathan D of DRG. Now, just wanted to get your thoughts on the Yoru and Waylay composition because the team seems to have a really good understanding on it, especially on that map and especially with the retakes. Was this always the plan, especially with the recent roster adjustments?
想问一下教练，看到你们在图一是拿出了夜路加上幻冷的组合，并且看到你们的理解是非常到位的。那最近队内也有人员的变动，这一场的发挥在你们的计划之中吗？
我觉得我们今天的发挥的话，其实我是挺满意的。就是我们输掉一些可能残局上的处理，然后围垒的话也是我们可能想打得比较突然一点，给对面一点措手不及的感觉。
Actually, I'm pretty satisfied with all the players' performance today. Like for the Waylay pick, I just want to say we fixed some problems with the former Neon comps. We want to play more aggressive and maybe catch our enemy off guard.
Well, the team is looking good. Hopefully you bounce back on the next map. Thank you.
One of the other things he was sort of alluding to is that where they lost was in the late rounds. You know, he was like, I'm happy with how we performed, but in the late rounds, there was a difference maker between us and T1, and he's right. But it does get scarier on Sunset. DRG, they really need to step it up.
I do think Sunset's a fun one because both teams are 4-1. Both teams have bested the best teams in their respective regions on this map. So you've got DRG, who's able to walk away with 2 wins against Billy, and then you've got T1, who's bested RRQ on Sunset twice. So these are strengths for both teams. I'm curious about what the heck is Demon One gonna play? And do they double down, which I think they will. I mean, I'm inclined to believe they will. Do they double down on this Flash Waylay situation? I think Sunset kind of lends itself to it a little bit more, to be honest.
If it helps, Demon One has only ever played Raze and Jet on Sunset and nothing else.
Don't think he'll be playing either of those this time.
Yeah, we'll see. Let's take a look at Agent Select now and see where we are going to go with this. It's Cypher. It is, I guess, stepping in 1-for-1 at this point.
Yeah, we had the question because it didn't really happen in that map 1, but going into this map 2 of Sunset, it's going to be Demon 1 on that Cypher, and they're going to continue playing this double duelist with that Neon and that Yoru.
Yeah, the real difference here is the fade over the Sova. I think this puts us into this conversation we've been having around Demon One on an island, on the Cypher specifically. This feels like they've just slotted him exactly into the plans that they wanted to have prior.
They've done the swap again. It's Izu, Yoru, and Buzz Neon. Do you like this?
Yeah, it's now 2 maps in a row where they seem that this is like a very intentional thing. I'm curious, is it a comfort situation? Does Izu just feel more comfortable on the Yoru? It's tough to say, really.
And also in the map 1, we saw so many great duels between Demon 1 and Meteor. Now they're in the same agent. They're both playing Cypher. They're going to that second map. I want to see more of those duels again.
I can't wait to see it. Let's jump into game and throw this back to Mitch and Tom.
Thank you, Yinsu. It's time to get into map number 2. The first was a tight affair, but T1 are leading by 1 map. And this is their choice on Sunset. Another debut for Demon One as he picks up the Cypher, sticking onto that role as we would expect.
Yeah, I like the fact that DRG have not come in and try and change everything up around him. You're the team that qualified. You're the team that made it. He's got a slot into your right. And I don't think, like, by any stretch of the imagination, he came in trying to change it either. Cypher definitely can be tougher on that hole, but at least for now, it's going to be DH continuing how he did on the last map. A fantastic individual performance. And wow, a recovery already needed in this pistol. It is a firing squad with DH leading the scoreboard already. And while Buzz is there to close it out, a pistol round for T1.
A solid start indeed for T1 as DRG trailed by 1, but they were able to make the fight fairly early on in the previous. See if that'll be the case again. DH, well, he was certainly a man that drew our eye throughout the entirety of regulation over on Lotus, but in those last couple rounds, the last round of regulation, especially the first of overtime,
yeah,
he seemed like a one-man army.
Well, for a 19-year-old playing his first map on an international stage and it's a Champions, that was about as good as it gets.
Yeah, especially in the late stage. Pressure was on for DRG. The pressure increases. They need 2 maps in a row. And starting out with a 1-0 loss, and Meteor's playing incredibly aggressive with the Marshal in hand.
I think he's hit 0 shots.
Yes, they were mostly through the smoke, so I'll give him that
shots.
credit. But it certainly scared DRG away. They grabbed the orb and moved towards middle. This is all classics, nothing upgraded.
There we go.
You really don't
There
expect
we
to see
go.
a lot of contest. Meteor good for 2 at least. The player spotted crossing with a jump scare from Buzz. And they're losing a few, but that's a piss. Okay, now I'm getting worried. Now I'm getting really worried. And they know where DH is as well. This man's been so reliable, but an early response like this from DRG, this could really
There we go.
disrupt the rhythm. A rifle, but only 30 HP, Tom. He's got to get the jump on
Headshot
DH.
will do it. That's the thing. DH has light shield, so a single bullet to the face would be enough to win the round. Now, he believes that he has baited
30 seconds left.
DH, but DH has just sat at the bottom of middle. He's waiting on this fight, and it gets a little bit scary. But that youngster is the safe pair of hands again. He's looking to try and get the rifle, and he will find it.
Yeah, that's at least a silver lining, but the same as the previous map. It's great damage from DRG. They had nothing. And a few more bullets loaded up into that Marshall, and maybe this could have been a clean round, but the fact that these classics are able to win fights like this from Ackerman straight down middle. I made that incredibly close, and you can see how tense it got on T1's side of the stage. They win it, but again, they have to invest fully.
This round. Oh, it's a singular rifle being put into the hands of Buzz. The rest really isn't much, but well, if Buzz is playing like this, maybe it won't matter. This is a terrible bonus round coming in from T1, but somehow it's working. They came in with a singular rifle, I think a stinger and a few pistols.
Yep.
And now Demon 1 has to try and save DRG from, I want to say, embarrassment.
Now, this is not a round they should be losing. But Demon 1 in a 1v3. 2 players on that angle. Spike secured as well. He's got all the info to work with now at least, but what is that going to do for him? And I love this positioning as well. Look how spread out they are. Buzz to take contact on his right, and then a big swing from Izu. He's tucked in though. Set himself up for success, Demon 1 did, but Buzz, the one to carry this round through for T1. I'm thinking before we get back into the game, okay, they've got to fully invest, right? We get in a barrier up, they've got nothing. Oh, it's an easy round. That's what you would think, but Buzz made it an uphill battle, and they came tumbling down. 3-0 start.
Again, you just talk about the supportive utility, the paranoia that came through. I think Stax is the one that, yeah, he puts that dart into the corner, and as they swap to look to the dart, that's when Buzz peaks. Like, it's just a perfect setup for that exact push. And while DRG fell into the trap, they lose to an incredibly weak bonus, and T1 have got a flying start.
This round, light shields across the board. Easy with the Outlaw.
A lot of stingers, though.
Yeah, they've got to get close. That's the real problem. Those shots don't land. The gate crash is used to get out of dodge before that's a little too scary. Now, those stingers are nice and close. All of these fights look maybe even favorable for them. T1 have to group, take these fights together. It's Izu looking for some on his own, but around that laneway, when they come to push back in, that's where DRG really pack a punch, not just on close range, but with the numbers by their side as well. Flexen picks up a double. Spirit C1 there as well. This could be DRG's round. A return. A MasterCard thrifty as they put one on the board on their weaker round. That's one way to reset after a third round embarrassment.
If we could just swap the last 2 rounds over, I think we have a perfectly normal game. But no, it is just the pace they were able to get in. Obviously, Buzz was so low. That second kill was very easy, but from then onwards, it's just stellar work. Playing these close range angles, knowing the vulnerabilities of their weaponry. And while Flexin and Spirit Z1 have now given them a round they never should have had. Balance restored, 3-1, and this is where we'll see the buy. A pretty strong one coming back up for T1 with an operator for Izu.
So far, the best rounds from DRG, where they've got 4 stingers, and the next best was when they had classics. And it wasn't a pistol round either. A very, very strange start. But this has been an unusual series, looking back at Lotus. Now rifles invested on both sides. for T1. They're taking a pretty heavy blow in the last, but a 3-0 start, especially when they didn't buy in round 3, that's going to give them enough to buy right back into this. Buzz has ultimate to work with, but I'm looking at the other side for DRG. Ackerman 1 away, but Spirit Z1 already has that dimensional drift, and on the attack side, that's probably going to be used here to clear up all this space and maybe stop Izu from having the impact with the operator. He's on the angle, waiting for his chance to strike, and there it is! The gate crash back to safety. But Spirit Z1, he's got the sight for them.
Yeah, just clearing out any risky angles will allow the rest of the team to run through clean, although saying that, Meteor's managed to find one on the cross. I think that's Demon 1 trying to jump around the edge, and instead, another solid paranoia thrown through to give Buzz a little bit more. The TP to the other side, it leaves Nick, but he's done well. He's managed to make this one look interesting. Flex implants on the other side of the map, and now has a 1 versus 2 to play with.
Well, Flexen's first half on Lotus was a disaster class. It was picked off in aim A, and it felt like in every round. But here's his chance. He certainly warmed up in the second. Now carry through that momentum to a 1 versus 2. He's got Izu and DH, 2 big players for T1. The operator swapped out. It is just the rifle, but Flexen isolates 1. 10 bullets left, but time ticking. Playing inside his smoke. He can challenge as soon as it's tapped, but Izu! He expected it! Lands the shot with plenty of time. I think he's putting the gate crash through to attempt to reclaim that up, but surely it's too far.
Yeah, it's not going to get it. Even still, though, a very nice attempt for the remaining couple of players to teleport to the other side of the map. Nick being able to get a couple, and then coming down to the wire. This reaction shot was tasty from Izu. I think even he's impressed with himself. And what could have been a close clutch for DRG ends up putting them back in a problematic scenario. Then again, you said it yourself, they did better with the Stingers.
Yeah, we're right back to it. But only 2 Stingers this time. They've still got those rifles to back them up. Demon 1 and Spirit Z1, the carriers of the heavy weaponry. And this will be, again, a round where DRG move together. And still going to be disrupted by Izu. And nasty angle in mid. That's Ackerman down. And especially in a round like this, Tom, especially with a Stinger, seeing him slide in and get up close, close that distance, gain you space, you really want your Neon for a round like this. Huge pick from Izu. And he keeps the control on mid as well. That gate crash, not even that close to fading, so he can stick around for quite a while.
They've not been able to clear him either. So he's still going to have this very fast flank, and because of that, they have a very good idea that there hasn't been a rotation. 3 players still committed to this B side of the map as they look to try and make their way through.
Oh, a missed shot by DH, though. That's given them an opportunity on DRG. When they got the plant, that's where things changed with Stingers in hand. This time it's beforehand. When Flexen goes diving into market, they've got good control, and Demon 1 lands his shot on backside. Stacks might have to back off. He's sticking around. He's getting up close. And he'll get the jump on Flexen, but the correction for Demon 1 isn't there. Meteor alone, and Nick will put him in the grave. They really are better when these weaker weapons come out as second round for DRG.
I'm not sure it's they. I think it's Flexen.
Yeah,
I think Flexen's just 100%. very good with the Stinger. Like, he's a little bit more aggressive in the way that he plays. Like, just looks to try and get up in their face the second he has this gun. And yeah, just look, he's TPing into angles, just playing up close. And Demon 1 also having a solid round at that. Definitely some frustration, and you can understand why. They've lost 2 rounds, and both of them, the core of it, has been Stingers.
Yeah, those are the rounds that, you've already done the hard work. Then it's just about converting your advantage, doubling down on it. Aggressive play, Flexen under pressure. Stacks already wrapping around, and Flexen won't escape. The wall bank to connect the
one. They keep the advantage. And Izu is now the one that's been given that rifle. It's whether or not they can retrieve the other. Doesn't seem like it. They're going to split back in the other direction, try and group up as DH still creates the illusion that there's a player here. And in the meantime, Izu goes walkabouts. Now they have the dimensional drift. They can find everyone else.
Drops the rifle over as well, picks up another as he's running around the site. Ackerman and Nick have their work cut out for them. Ackerman good for the first, and the trade out makes it possible. But Meteor's classic is what takes them across the line.
This game is weird.
Course correction from T1, but
Thrifty.
I don't know what is going to happen next here. As a MasterCard Thrifty won out by the defensive side. Continues the madness of not just this map, but this series.
So yeah, you've got the first 2 rounds, then you've got T1 winning a round that was 1 rifle, pistols, and a stinger.
Yep.
Then you've got the opposing side winning a round with almost all stingers.
Yep.
Then a normal-ish round. And then, well, actually, no, it was an 8 HP clutch. Never mind, wasn't that normal. Then you have another stinger round, and then you have this round. It's weird. And, well, T1, I'm sure Autumn is kind of got to retract his slamming on the table, because now they've ended up in, I guess, an even better spot. But they're up against stingers again, so who the hell knows?
Well, we've seen it with 4. We've seen it with 2.
These are warning shots. He's spraying the stinger. He's like, now they know I'm coming.
Well, they certainly do. All that utility fired through, but Spirit C won the first of all. Flexing again, but Stack steps up. A 3 versus 2 that they find themselves in. The TP to backside for early control, and it might not even be needed. Demon won all alone. Last time, he had a pretty hefty disadvantage, but this 1v3, a Guardian in hand. And a good idea of where this player is. He is checking this left corner. TH needs to be quick on the trigger, and he will be shut down. The spike, though, is not in a good position. With no cage left to cover the cross, that off could... What? A jump shot with the Guardian. That's one hell of an attempt. Now he knows that that op is on the other side, but hitting this shot will be difficult. Uses the cam to bait him out, and he's done so successfully, but he can't land the shot, and the stun sends him running back. The classic round the corner. That's a risky play. They've given Demon One a chance, and he may land this shot, but it's 1 bullet in the mag. Not enough as Buzz lands his, and 6-2 on the board. Again, though, anything but a normal round.
Yeah, I feel like they fully believed he was hit by that stun. That's the only reason I can think of that Izu would run around that corner with a classic, but it just feels like at times T1 want to make this as uncomfortable for them, and I'm guessing their fans at home as possible, because that was way too close. Who's Greg?
Pal's here? I think it might be that he's cracked, I'll tell you that. 6-2. The lead for T1.
Well, they find it funny.
They've been slamming desks in the coaching booth.
I need sort of like that side by side. Like, just like Autumn slamming the desk and then cut to DX, or DH just laughing his head off.
Yeah.
Like, it's just the parallel of the coaching staff versus in the server. And I can definitely understand why, because although they are winning in some of the weirdest ways I've ever seen.
Without a doubt. A 4-round lead, but with the way this game has gone, it could be swinging either way. For DRG, though, this is a disastrous start. Of course, they're on their opponent's map pick, and having been so close to closing out Lotus. A few big clutches, big rounds from DH, the man that was happy down on that stage. That's what robbed them of it. And now you start to be left in the dust as T1 run away with it despite incredibly close rounds, despite winning 2 where they had extremely light buys, essentially saving their credits for the next and somehow finding it there. But when the next came, it was defeat.
They also lost 2 in the exact same way. Yeah. So it's kind of
perfectly balanced.
In essence, yes, but in the feel of the match, no. Like, I feel like the last map was a lot closer, but not with this much insanity.
Yeah.
But hey, for Team 1, they're on their map choice. At times, they have been fairly dominant when it comes to the defense, but in their most recent match versus RRQ, it was the attack that they ran away with. So, scoreline alone, I think they'll be very happy with the position they find themselves in. At the same time, in their most recent victory versus BLG, it was a 10-2 defensive half for DRG. Now, saying they can recreate that, again, with how things are going so far, maybe not so likely. They're going to want at least a little bit of wiggle room.
I think the interesting thing about this, and I know you folks are getting your stage shots, but when we get back into the game, you'll see that T1 actually left in a suboptimal position.
What do you mean? They have a Stinger. That's a great
They have
gun.
to play with a Stinger despite winning 2 rounds in a row, and I think that really tells the story of how this has gone. A streak of 2, but every round has been so damn close.
Well, what I've been told as well is that although we do currently have ourselves a technical pause, DRG are going to take a tactical pause directly after this. So this may be a slightly elongated pause for more than one reason, because I can understand why. Like the manner in which you're losing a lot of these rounds are like, I feel like a lot of control has been given over on B main. I feel like they've left a player there lurking to try and hold on to it. I don't think they've had too much success when they've gone for these more direct A hits. And other than those B hits with low buys, there hasn't been anything that's worked for them on the attack side. And that is alarm bells. Because if you get those couple of rounds, you build off it, you start getting yourself into the half, you show something with your buy rounds that you're able to sort of maybe bait players into certain fights or get certain map control, then I'm not worried for you. But when they're the only rounds you're winning, that shows that, okay, it's only these cheese rounds where you're able to get up close in someone's face and spray them down with an SMG. That probably means that this attack side is going as bad as it could be, and you've just had a little bit of luck that's helped you out. So I'm definitely nervous for DRG, because as we sort of mentioned, the importance not only of this match, but the whole tournament, of them not just trying to battle the champions, which is the goal of everybody's year, but also they still have their life on the line for just being in Tier 1. They are one of 2 teams that is the case. And you then have to consider the group that they're in. Like, okay, sure, a match versus Sentinels is a tough one, but you're going to be up against either the previous year's champions finalist or G2, who most people coming into this event put them at least top 2. Like, you're either having them or PaperX, who's probably favorites for the whole thing. So it is seeming like the loser of this match has got a tougher match in the lower bracket.